Good evening guys. So it is Motivation Monday. I've been doing these posts on Monday, but tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. So you hear me talk a lot about self-awareness, and part of my journey has been my own journey to self-awareness. And what I'm going to do tonight, guys, is I'm a huge fan of the hero's journey. All right, I love just like thinking of living my life through the hero's journey and understanding what phase of life I'm in on the hero's journey. And to tell an accurate hero's journey, you must go all the way back to the beginning. So if you watch a superhero movie, by the way, guys, here's a question. What is your favorite superhero movie? Go ahead and drop me a line below. What is your favorite Marvel, DC, Marvel-verse DC? I love that debate. But what's your favorite superhero movie? Guys, leave me a line below and let me know. So, if you watch any superhero movie, a great one that just comes to my mind is Wonder Woman. And anytime they start that movie, they tell the story of what's known as the ordinary world. All right, it's kind of the origin story of the superhero. So, the ordinary world is basically defined as the world before they start the journey. So what did their life look like before they got their call to adventure, which is something we're going to talk about later. So the ordinary world, what does the origin story tell us? So tonight, guys, I'm going to go into part one of my ordinary world, and it was definitely not so ordinary. But I want you to kind of understand the origin story. I want you to understand the background of why I'm so passionate about what I do, why I spent so much time and effort into self-awareness, understanding psychology, philosophy, coaching, all these different aspects that I've had to go study. What made me have the burning passion to literally put myself through school again? Well, it starts with my ordinary world, part of my hero's journey, the origin story. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, guys. In case you didn't know, because a lot of people just know me now, they don't know me back then. In case you didn't know, guys, look, I grew up fat. I have no problem saying I was the fat kid growing up. I came out the womb. Actually, what's weird is I came out the womb at 9 pounds, 10 ounces. So I literally came out rolling. But I was the smallest of the three boys. I weighed in, even though I turned out to be the biggest, I weighed in the smallest of the three. And I came out almost 10 pounds. So I came out and I was overweight my entire life. But what the difference is very, very early on, I developed an addiction to emotional eating. I'm talking about when I was a little kid, not knowing what I was doing, I developed an emotional eating addiction. Food was my absolute 100% drug of choice, even as a little kid. And you're asking yourself, why? How does a little kid develop an emotional eating disorder? It's very simple. I had a lot of insecurities. I did. Even as a little kid, I always felt like I wasn't good enough. And it wasn't something my parents put on me. It wasn't something any from the outside world thrust upon me. It was just something I felt inside of me. There is no one thing that caused this. It's just something over time I developed these massive insecurities that led me to emotional eating. And the reason I never felt good enough was, I would, as a very little kid, and I love them for it, my parents, as their ordinary world stories, their origin stories, were amazing athletes. I mean, my mom's in the Tulane Basketball Hall of Fame. You walk around the Mississippi Gulf Coast and you hear stories about my dad playing, high school football, high school baseball, and just being one of the best athletes on the coast. He ended up playing college football at Southern Miss. So both my parents played high school and college sports, and then they were also coaches. So everybody looked up to them. So I grew up in that, but also I'm 22 months younger than my older brother. And my older brother was a phenomenal athlete. Literally, whatever sport he touched, he excelled. And I would see this, and I'm like the little fat kid just kind of following behind. And I would see him excelling. Like, man, I want to do that one day. I looked up to my older brother so much growing up that I'm like, man, if I can be half the athlete he is, I'm going to have a great life. Because I would just see the way everybody looked at him. I'm like, man, I want that. I want to feel what it looks like he's feeling because he's such an amazing athlete. So because I wasn't that person, I was the overweight fat kid always falling behind my family, it actually caused me to eat more. The worst thing about an emotional eating disorder, guys, is you feel bad, then you eat. You eat and you feel bad. Well, you feel bad again, so you eat again. And it starts this negative spiral that just goes down and down and down. And then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, what have I done? How many out there can agree with this? How many people out there have done one of these negative spirals before, where one bad decision makes them feel bad, which leads to another one, which leads to them feeling bad again, which leads to another bad decision, and they get on this negative spiral? It's very easy to go down. It's a very slippery slope. You see a lot of it with drug addiction. With drug addiction, they'll have one night where they're feeling like crap and want to do drugs because it makes them feel better, releases all the endorphins in your head, the same thing that food does. Sorry. And then from there, they feel better for the night because all the positive endorphins rush through the brain, so they want to do it again to relieve themselves of the stress. They relieve themselves of the stress, and all of a sudden, when it wears off, they feel bad again. They don't feel like dealing with the pain, so they do drugs again. It's the same way I was with food. I never wanted to deal with the pain, so I would always turn to food. And we all know where that got me. And, on top of that, so I had this emotional eating disorder, and let's go ahead and talk about this too. Bullying. When you grow up the fat kid, you're going to get bullied. Like the name calling, the put downs, the getting picked on at recess because you can't keep up with the other kids. I remember there was plenty of days like in athletics growing up where probably, the grades like 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we'd be on the playground and I wasn't able to keep up with the other kids because I was overweight, sweating, couldn't breathe, and they would pick on me for it. So I was always getting left out. I remember one story when I was in elementary school. I wanted to be in the gifted program just so I could belong to something. I was so tired of being left out. I just wanted to belong to something. So I told my mom, I told my teacher, I'm like, I want to be in the gifted program. I don't care what I have to do. I want to be in this program. I need something to belong to. I wanted to be a part of something. And when you go back and look at it, that's one of the basic human needs. When you look at psychology, everybody wants to belong to something. You want to feel part of a tribe. We're tribal people. We need other people to survive. So I was longing to belong. I was so tired of being the outcast. And, another story of like bullying that I don't think I've told anyone ever publicly, I've told like 2 people in my entire life this story, is one of my favorite things growing up was this miniature, it was usually like a kid size, Notre Dame football. I love this thing so much. Pretty much all the graphics were washed off of it because it just been beaten up so much. It was like a rubber football. The laces were actually peeling off because I was throwing it so much. And I'm at the, my mom worked at the middle school at the time. She was an algebra teacher. And I was at the school waiting for her to get done for the day. And I'm outside playing with my ball. And one of the big kids comes up to me. And he literally like snatches the ball from me. And this is like my favorite thing in the world. And this big guy just stole it from my hands. I go nuts. I'm like, give me my ball back, give me my ball back. And like I run and try to tackle him. I'm like, 9, 10 years old at the time. I'm not tackling this 8th grader. It's just not happening. He was a big kid. At least in my eyes, looking at it, in retrospect, he was a big kid. And I couldn't get the ball from him. He was literally laughing at me as he's holding this ball up here. And I'm like an ankle biter trying to like tackle him in his knee. And at one point, he even starts hitting me with the rubber ball. And it just, that like destroyed me because he stole my Notre Dame football. Like my favorite thing in the world, he stole from me and I was helpless. I couldn't do anything about it. So growing up, events like that caused me even more like emotional stress. And it caused me even more instances in my life where these insecurities that I had just started building up and becoming more of a part of my life and really just like sinking in, and I just couldn't get rid of them. So I started, just emotional eating even more. And I was overweight, I was sad, I was depressed, I was extremely just lonely. I told you I had a problem fitting in, and being shy and introverted, it makes it even worse because a lot of kids that struggle with their size find a coping mechanism where you see a lot of humor. Chris Farley is a great example. He was overweight, insecure about his weight, but he found humor as a way to gain acceptance. My way of gaining acceptance was I was a horrible people pleaser. I would just let people run all over me when I was a little kid, always saying, yes, 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 please do whatever, I just want to fit in. And we all know people out there that struggle with the same exact thing. We all just want to fit in, yet when you have these insecurities in your head and your confidence is literally nothing, it's so hard to gain social acceptance because you're not even able to be yourself. I retreated at that point into reading comic books. And actually, I read things like The Punisher. I loved The Punisher because he always got revenge. And even though I was not confident enough to ever get revenge, I just loved that idea. And honestly, my favorite comic book growing up was Calvin and Hobbes. And it sounds weird because, most time we think about comic books nowadays, we're thinking about Marvel, DC, the superheroes. But I love Calvin and Hobbes because it was an escape to just a happy place. I could read that and they would deal with their little insecure problems and they would be fine by the end of this little snippet. I'm like, man, I just love the simplicity of this. And so I would read Calvin and Hobbes, I would listen to my music. I became super, super artsy at this point. I love drawing. I still love doing it. But at this point in my life, I retreated into art. And, that continued. So a lot of things that I do in my life now, my motivation stems from the ages of 1 through 13. And, part 2 next week, I'm going to go into, my teenage years, which were, so much fun, as we all had amazing teenage years. But this is really age 1 through 13, from birth to becoming a teenager, was really where the foundation of how I believed most of the things I believed growing up. Even now, my deeply rooted insecurities all happened before the age of 13. Yeah, they were compounded once I was a teenager and in college, but they really, really began the ages of 1 through 13 because science will prove that at the ages of 1 to 7, you formulate about 80% of your personality going forward. My 1 to 7 was not pretty. Getting laughed at, getting picked on, being bullied, those kind of things, they really imprinted who I was and who I was to become. So when it comes to my ordinary world of who I am, my origin story, it did not get off to a great start. But here's the thing, and you'll hear me say this next week too, I'm so thankful that it happened that way. I'm so happy about the way I grew up because it's made me to who I am today. One thing about the ordinary world, the origin story of who you are, is you have two choices in that. You can either be a victim of it or you can rise to be the hero from it. Okay, most people that we know fall victim to it because they don't know that they can become the hero from it. So guys, that's what I wanted to go over with you tonight, guys. The origin story part 1, the ordinary world, which is the beginning of the hero's journey. I love you guys. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching this, guys. Look, I love you. I love doing these for you because it gives you a little more understanding about who I am, where I come from. And also one of the main reasons I do these is to let people know they're not alone. To let people know that there are other people dealing with the same crap that they're dealing with. I mean, I know I have. So that's it for tonight, guys. Look, if you have any questions, feel free to message me below. Shoot me a DM if you don't feel like talking about it below. I answer to all of the questions, so please reach out to me, guys. I'm here for you. I want to help you. And it's my mission in life now to help everyone be the hero of their own journey, to help everyone understand that they don't have to be the victim in their life. They can actually choose to change their life and be a hero. So, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me some comments down below. If you've got any value from this at all, please share this We are trying to build a tribe of people that want to go out there and save the world, literally. Trust me, there's plenty of saving to do, enough for all of us to get involved. So let's go out there and create a community of like-minded individuals who want to be the hero of the worlds around them, the hero that their family, their workers, their community needs them to be. Love you guys. Have a great Monday night. If you have anything, please let me know. That's it, guys. Have a great night.